In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys just a few things to do while you're here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. However, what I want you to know is that I was not able to see all the attractions here. Right now, I'm writing the ebook for this city, like I do for pretty much all the cities that I go to. And I'm on the things to do section. And I'm realizing like, wow, there are many places I didn't get to visit. But I do think that most people, if you're coming down here, you're not going to stay a whole month. Maybe 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks max. So I still think this video is going to show you some of the core things that you need to see during your time in the capital of Tango. Without further ado, let's get into the first one, which is El Obelisco. Hands down, this has to be the most iconic monument in Buenos Aires. Whenever you see postcards and pictures, chances are it's of this right here. And whenever you're lost, you can do one or two things. You can look up at the sky and try to find the North Star. Or while in Buenos Aires, just look up and search for the Obelisco. It's very active all around this monument. So you have restaurants, eateries, and just a ton of foot traffic. This monument is at the intersection of two popular avenues. The first one is 9 de Julio, which is, according to the Guinness World Records, the widest avenue in the world. The second avenue, which is actually more popular than the first, this is the main one in the city, is called Avenida Corrientes. Now, whenever you hear the phrase Buenos Aires, that city that never sleeps, one of the reasons is because of this avenue. I don't know if it's every day. I know when I went on a Friday, they close off the street, or they close off one side of the avenue from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. to allow people to walk and relax without having to worry about vehicles. And all along both sides of the avenue, you have eateries, you have a ton of pizzerias. They have their own style of pizza. It's called a porteño pizza, which in my opinion, I think is just adding a whole bunch of cheese. I mean, their pizza, they drown it with cheese. So if that's your thing, there you go. But ton of pizzerias, theaters, shows. They have some cultural centers. Also, if you enjoy reading, for some of you guys listening, they have libraries here that close very late. So you'll see people like at night with their kids in the libraries reading books and purchasing books and just hanging out. About 2 blocks from the Obelisco is a theater called Teatro Colón. As the making of this video, they suspended tours. However, what you can do is purchase a ticket for one of their shows to view the inside. So I bought like a standing room ticket, which is around, I think, $3. And yeah, the inside is very nice, very beautiful. And if you're into that, you know, that type of architecture, I think you'll enjoy it. Hands down, without a doubt, I believe the best views in the city are at Palacio Barolo. This is a historic office building that at one point in time was the largest or the tallest building in South America way back in the day. But there's still a ton of history behind it. In order to get to the top, you have to reserve a tour, pay for a tour. It only lasts 45 minutes. Then at the very top, the views. What you're seeing right here is lovely, but then you get to go all the way inside the lighthouse, where it's a little, if you're not into heights, your anxiety might kick in here because it feels like, oh, and shout out to the tour guide, this is her lovely lady, but it feels like you're sitting inside of an egg. And like if you lean too much to one side, you'll just tip over. It's, man, so I wasn't in there too long. But definitely Palacio Barolo, check it out for the views. If you're in the country and you don't have the opportunity to visit the city of Mendoza, which is the wine capital of the country, have no fear. They have wine here, meaning in Buenos Aires. They have many places where you can reserve a wine tasting, a wine tour. Now, the one I went to, I'm not saying it's the best, but it was the closest to where I lived. And so the place is called La Cava. I'm gonna put the name right here. And during this tour, we received 3 glasses of wine with refills and then some side dishes to accompany our drinks, while all at the same time receiving a history lesson of wine, how it came to Argentina, how it's processed, and we also learn about, you know, wines from other places of the world. And so you can easily search wine tastings in Buenos Aires, and a lot of them will pop up. For these next few points, I want to say that the interesting thing about Buenos Aires is how the attractions are sorted. So for example, you may visit some cities and the majority of sites and attractions are in the downtown area or the city center. Here in Buenos Aires, each neighborhood is an attraction in and of itself. So let's break it down. One neighborhood to visit is called San Telmo. This is the oldest neighborhood in the city. So it's like walking back in time, the cobblestone streets, the historic buildings. They have a few museums here as well. And one of the highlights of the neighborhood is the market that's located here, San Telmo Market. which is very popular on the weekends, especially on Sundays, where the whole neighborhood is filled with tourists and locals alike. Inside, obviously, you have your fresh produce, tons of eateries, and many places to eat empanadas. And it just retains that old and traditional feel. On the weekends, there's also a huge fair, probably one of the largest ones in the city, or at least one of the longest ones, where you have a street that looks like it never ends, filled with a whole bunch of stands selling handicrafts, souvenirs, you name it, just a little bit of everything. So definitely check out San Telmo if you want a little less ruckus, maybe on a Saturday, because on Sundays it's packed. The next neighborhood on the list is Palermo. If San Telmo was the oldest, Palermo is the largest. So it has different sections. You have Palermo Chic, you have Palermo Hollywood, which I think is more of like the upscale area. And then you have the most popular section, which is Palermo Soho, known for its trendy, artsy vibe. Just like all the neighborhoods I'm going to list, if you visit on the weekend, they have a huge fair selling fair stuff. You guys already know the deal. And then the place is just busy and there's a great vibe. Restaurants are packed, bars are packed, people are hanging out, eating, relaxing. Great place for people watching, street art and murals. This neighborhood is also one of the main nightlife zones in the city. So during the day, there's a certain atmosphere, and then when the sun goes down, a completely different one. But the amount of people remains the same. It's packed. You have many bars, clubs. Just remember that, Buenos Aires, they start things a little late. So in the clubs, things don't start jumping until around 2 a.m. in the morning. This isn't the States, so don't show up around, 11 o'clock, 11:30, because you're going to be all by yourself. The next neighborhood on the list is called Recoleta. Now, San Telmo was the traditional one. Palermo was the trendy, the artsy and cool neighborhood. Recoleta would be the upscale, the more affluent, bourgeois zone. You have many luxury stores, luxury hotels, and some sights to see, such as you have the Centro Cultura Recoleta. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a cultural center, which definitely check it out on the weekends because they have live shows, performances. It seems like an area to promote creativity and upcoming trends and genres. The day I went, I was able to view a hip-hop performance, which is pretty cool. You also have in the area La Facultad de Derecho, which is a law school, and it's very popular for its architecture. I will say because of the columns in front, it reminds me of the Pantheon in Rome. So a cool place to grab a quick pic, and also in front, maybe not during the day when the sun's out, but towards the evening time, you have many people hanging out on the steps, drinking, relaxing, and just, watching the world go by. Right next to the law school is a huge flower called Floralis Genetica. It's smack dab right in the middle of a park, so a great place if you just want to relax, unwind with a beautiful view of a flower. You have, according to some sources, one of the most beautiful bookstores in the world called El Ateneo Gran Splendid. If you can't tell, it resembles, to a certain extent, the Teatro Colón on the inside, and that's because this was previously a theater turned bookstore. Next neighborhood is La Boca. This area, I would say, it's a little more gritty, but I enjoyed my time walking here. This is where one of the most emblematic stadiums in the world is located, and it's called La Bombonera, home to the Boca Juniors soccer, or they call it football team. Now, I don't know, I've heard mixed reviews. Somebody posted a comment and said, this team is the most marketed, but the other soccer team, because I think there's multiple, the other soccer team on the other side of the city called River Plate or River Plate, they're actually the best team. I don't know. You guys let me know who are from the country. Either way, I would say this stadium is probably the most popular. The history behind this neighborhood is that many immigrants from Italy decided to settle down here, and they have a famous strip with colorful homes called El Caminito, which the people built here using scraps from the shipyard, and they also used leftover paint to color the buildings. Definitely, I would say the most colorful neighborhood in the city. Tango is also huge here, so if you visit on the weekends, you'll see people dancing tango. Be careful, fellas. And lastly, I just want to point out that I believe this area, from what I've been told, is, a little rough. So if you visit, make sure you go during the day, but it's recommended not to go at night. Just throwing that out there. Now, like I said in the introduction, ton of places I did not get to visit. There's also another neighborhood, I think it's Puerto Madero, which is the most modern zone of the city. I wasn't able to go there, but that's also a place you can visit. They have a popular attraction called Puente La Madra. Ooh. I'm gonna put the name in the video, but the monument symbolizes a couple dancing tango. You may also see this in postcards and pictures online because the monument looks beautiful. But I'm pointing that out because, again, each neighborhood has its own character, its own personality, and its own attractions. And there are also more neighborhoods like Caballito, and also Belgrano. They have Barrio Chino, Chinatown. They have Barrio. They have I think like a small Korean town as well. So tons of things to see, tons of things to do. But the ones I listed in this video, if you're coming for, let's say, a week, 10 days, I believe I gave you more than enough. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Hope you have found some value in it. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.